Okay, we are live. How you doing, artist?
Doing great.
Very excited for this new content offering from Enrollify. What we're going to do today is go behind the scenes on all things Element 451 to get a better understanding of how the product works, the genesis of the product, who the product is sort of a best fit for. And so we're going to have a lot of fun. I'm going to ask artists a variety of questions and have him show off the various tools that exist within Element and talk a little bit about how to most effectively use and optimize the use of these tools. So, artists, I'd love to just kick this conversation off by you giving us sort of like a quick couple-minute crash course on Element 451 and what you think its unique value proposition to the greater higher ed CRM space really is. Yeah, I love this feature, and we've talked about it a couple of times on the Enrollify podcast and throughout some of our other regular sort of like weekly materials. And I genuinely have never seen a higher ed CRM that actually comes with this pre-built content that is again sort of straddles perfectly automation with personalization. And I really do think I know I don't need to tell you this, artist, but I really do think that the PAX offering is sort of like the sort of unique value proposition that Element has. I think like the powerful marketing automation features that you all have, coupled with the actual having a true higher ed CRM that can host an application and handle all of the communications post app and whatnot. That's incredibly powerful. And one of the things that we've talked about previously is Element sort of like the marriage between like a HubSpot and a Slate, and you sort of like get both with Element, which is really neat. And that in and of itself is powerful, let alone throwing in free content and making it super easy to build out things like a search campaign and build out a full-fledged even post inquiry communication in a matter of minutes, as opposed to the weeks and months, and as you said, sometimes years that it can take to truly build out content within your CRM. So I think this offering is incredibly unique, and I'd love for you to like show it off for us a little bit if you wouldn't mind. Could we actually start by since we're talking about PAX, could you just give us like a crash course on what PAX actually is?
Sure. Yeah, I would be happy to. One of the things right now we're in our demo instance of Element 451, and here we have the packs library. We can take a look at some of the installed packs and also these content tokens, but we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Okay.
So packs is really a collection of content automations and a lot of different entities and resources in Element that get installed right away within a matter of seconds, and now you can start editing them. So if we take a look here, we have a whole bunch of them. We've launched packs with over a dozen or a couple of dozen different packs in here. But if we take a look at, let's say, a senior search campaign, we can go directly into that resource, and what we see is that we give you an idea of what you get out of that pack. Here to the right hand side, you see all the resources that will be created when you install that pack. You can see that there's about 6 or so emails that get created, different segmentation depending on to personalize a lot of the content. You build a whole workflow and marketing automation, even additional very timely emails like a COVID prep and support email and SMS message as well. There's always a call to action on the campaign. So as marketers, we know that everything that we do around that campaign, we should keep that call to action to be one destination. So in this case, it's all about apply, apply, apply for seniors. There's personalization that we perform here at the different email levels, and that's based on geolocation in this case. So because geolocation is very unique, and we'd like to talk about the in the context of somebody who's local to the school versus somebody who's coming out of state, or somebody who's going to be traveling. So we're personalizing at that point. And then you notice this highlighted text in here, and that's going to be throughout the content as well, where we give you an opportunity to personalize messages in here. So the notion that this is not personal to you or to the school, you can go in and actually we give you points of personalization inside there, where we say go in, put your value proposition or other areas as well, and of course the topics in here. So very easy to install packs. Just install them. We give you an opportunity to provide some inputs to the pack, so he knows a little bit more. In this case, some options of, hey, do we want to include the COVID communication?
Yeah.
We want to talk about what application do we want to drive the students to. This is now another resource that's in Element, an application that's built in there. We can try an undergraduate application. What terms are we driving the students to? Is this seniors for fall 2021? And then we can give this pack a segment, in this case, an audience for who is going to be receiving this campaign, who's going to be entered in this campaign. And then a couple of additional things like who are we sending this from. In some cases, CRM can have undergraduate, graduate data, different populations in there. And we can just provide some more context in here.
Sure.
Additionally, short codes for sending mass SMS messages, just as mass email messages. You don't want those to be caught in spam filters. And then the last thing that we have to provide here is what happens when that student now applies, because at that time the campaign ends. So we can now tie this in with another campaign, which can be a push to submit that application, right? And then a push to complete that application. So the cadence is weekly, and we provide some content information here. So that's it. That's all you have to do. Now, it took me a little bit to go through this, but now we can install that pack, and in a matter of seconds, this will go ahead and create all those different resources that we talked about. And it will kind of inject all of the imagery, and it will inject all of the colors and everything else that is part of those content tokens that we'll take a look. And here we can go to one of the workflows, and here's a workflow that I built. Just the timing in here, and it talks about all of the different touch points that it's building around that workflow.
And then obviously, artists, what I could just then do is if I have data that suggests, based off of my current Conflow, that emails are best when they're sent. Let's say email number 2 and 3 performs best if there's a 7-day sort of window between emails 2 and 3 or something like that. I can go in and customize sort of the time sent between individual emails within the context of the workflow, right?
Exactly. So
Awesome.
all Pax does, it's essentially gives you smart defaults and smart start with the content in there, and then after that, you have the power to essentially change anything. It's as if you created that content on your own, or somebody on your team created it, and now you can go in and customize it. So in here, we can go in and just change from 7 days to 6 days or 10 days, and this will now. You can actually see that here as well.
Yeah. Now, can you show us, again, one of the things that I was most impressed by when I got the first little sneak peek at packs that I got, was if you go into the actual email, and you already talked about this with like the highlighted section of like, hey, here's where you want to personalize content. To me, what was so cool about that is I feel like a lot of times the challenge, or at least the default in higher ed, is like, oh, let's just be cookie cutter. Like, let's just like, one of the reasons why higher education marketing and communication flows tend to look identical is because people don't have time, right? Or like I don't want to say it, but I will say it. They're lazy, right? Like they just want to default to sort of like the 4 to 5 bullet point sort of standard email com flow. And so what I love about packs is it will build all of that basic stuff for you. And so then you get to, as the enrollment manager or the higher ed marketer, go in and say, okay, cool. I know that I have my bases covered. Like my branding's on point. I've got an email that's going to be about our UVPs, and then another email that's just going to be focused on like an application discount or whatever it is. So then I can put like my time and mental creativity into focusing on that highlighted section. So can you just show us a little bit more about like how this works, what it looks like, and maybe how folks are using this successfully?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So so here is what you were talking about, right? In this
Yeah.
case, it's actually pulling. You can see over here, there's a bunch of majors, some of our popular courses and majors. It populated this. So I'll show you where this data is coming from. So this is
Okay.
actually data that is personalized to this specific instance or this specific school. But then there is other opportunities where we're saying, hey, perhaps you want to add an example like a study abroad semester. So what the opportunities are here, because those are more unique to the school, and the school can put them in a different tone of voice, right? So
Yeah.
we're giving you some examples here, or some direction on what you can do. So whenever you see that highlighted text, but if you look at these over here, we are pulling that information from. Let me go back to our packs instance over here, and we're pulling them from our content tokens. So content tokens is how we are injecting all these different emails and how we're getting the top majors. So here's those
Got
top
it.
majors that a school adds in, and now we're injecting that directly into the content. And you saw it's a list in there. So you update these majors, and you install another pack, and we're using the same exact content here across everything.
Wow.
Same thing with top courses, or your school values, for example, or top industries that we pull into the alumni section. A couple other things in here to note is that, of course, is a school quick fact, but there's things like images as well. So let's say that we have an email that deals with campus. Now we have a campus aerial shot in here, or a general one, or perhaps a campus safety, students outside. So we give you these slots of content, and then we pull that content into the packs to personalize it to your own school.
Wow. Quick question for you. Can you go back to the general tokens?
Sure.
So you've got number of majors, you've got popular or top majors. Is there a way? So once you build out the pack, if I wanted to, let's say I'm taking let's use a graduate school example, okay? And I'm a business school. Um, uh, is there a way to basically default the packs to build out just a ComFlow with business majors or business graduate programs? Do I have to do that at like the token level? Like, would I have to do top business majors, or is there a way to swap that content easily once that program specific or that school specific ComFlow has been built out? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that totally understandable. So what this is, it's essentially at the time when you're installing that pack, it's going in here and pulling this content from here, and it's injecting it into that specific pack. Now, once that's done, you can come in here and change this and run another pack, and then it will pull the new content in there. So essentially, you can be doing, all you have to do is change these tokens, and now they'll be think about this as your template, or think about the
Yeah.
packs as your template, and think about this as the content that's flowing into those templates. So that content changes, you're building the template, it's done. Now you go to the next one, you go to the next one, and all you have to do is change it in one spot, and it will flow through all those emails that you're building. When
Got
at
it. So so
installation
right
time.
now, so right now, like I can't add tokens right now, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, okay. So this is meant, and then that makes sense, right? So this is meant to like, again, get that quick content built,
Mhm.
and then customize it accordingly, which makes tons of sense. But like, at least right now, it's not possible for me to have like top business majors, top education majors, or anything like that. It's top majors, and then there's the customization happens at the level of the com flow.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that we have, I mean, majors are super important, and
Yeah,
we are extending this idea of majors. We have our microsites, which we have the ability to add things like top majors for or top outcomes or careers, salary information, all of those pieces around a particular major.
yeah,
However, we are going to expose that as part of PAX and extend this idea of programs and the marketability of the specific program and kind of what makes that program unique. So at this point, like today, it's not there, but perhaps in 2 weeks and maybe a month or so, we are working towards making programs uh, a first party player in here, so we can
yeah.
inject all those program information everywhere.
That's awesome. No, again, I appreciate that context. That makes a lot of sense. Um, do you want to show us anything else about PAX, or should we move on to some of the other tools?
Yeah, we can move on to the other tools. So PAX is essentially an orchestration tool. It's everything that you can hit a button in Element and you can click and build. It can automate every single piece of that. So it's at the end of the day, it's a big automation tool that lets us get really, really quickly to creating hundreds or even dozens or even hundreds of pieces of content.
What I love, right before you move on, artists, what I also love about this is we do a lot of surveying of people in the enrollment marketing space at all levels. But some recent data that we garnered from people at the graduate level was that almost half of the survey respondents that responded to a little survey we did just about how are you using personalization throughout your graduate school communications process. Almost half of them said admitted to not effectively running A/B tests because of time, right? And so, like, what I get really excited about with PAX is like no excuse. Like, time can't be the excuse anymore, right? Like, you can in literally seconds, as you just showed us, you can build out two sort of identical com flows, and then go in and make your tweaks, and there you go. There's your A/B test, right? And that's incredibly exciting, and hopefully something that will genuinely save grad schools in particular lots and lots of time, and prevent people from ever having an excuse that A/B testing just takes too much time and too much creative thought.
Exactly. Exactly. That's you're absolutely right, Zach. And here is a graduate nurture campaign. Here's that first intro email, and what we have here is that this personalization level. We're just personalizing based on international students, but there's nothing that says that you can't now go in and add additional conditions in here
Yeah,
to personalize that content for other audiences, right? And you can see how in here as well we have the ability to do A/B testing and also add more of these personalizations. So it's the ability to it's not just a blocker on the content side, but it's
yeah.
also a blocker on now I need to set up all these different things in order to get an A/B test going. But if it's really easy, then yeah, maybe a lot of people will do it.